by statistics and a lot of surveys among family offices, about 90% of family offices are lost at the third generation. The wealth is lost. And these folks up here are very experienced with all of how to create it and how to preserve it, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, hi Hadi. Hi. Can you introduce yourself and share a little bit with the class, as it were?
Hadi Al-Alawi from Bahrain. I know Wendy over maybe a decade or even more. We've been in a lot of panels and conferences, summits. So please, again, I'm telling you, come to Bahrain in April for the 30th summit for Anthony is here and he's supporting that with me. We'll have a beautiful time in Bahrain. Please come, and we have Formula One at the same time. Thank you.
Lord Carmine.
Thank you. Okay. Well, welcome to Bahrain. Absolutely. He convinced me to go to Bahrain, and I loved it. And it's certainly a wonderful, beautiful destination in the region, in the GCC. I agree. I couldn't agree. It's got 120 plus 3Ds so globally. It's got you can drink wine, but it's also it's been a financial hub for a long time. Anyway, running a multifamily office and both royal families and older regular families, and happy to be here as a guest.
Thank you. Tan?
Hi, Wendy. My name is Tan Egeli, and running a single family office out of Istanbul, Turkey, and been basically focusing on impact investments and sustainable and social responsible investments. And the subject that, great things are done by human and also destroyed by human is being the key principle of the third chapter of my career, I would say. The first chapter was me working as a professional, and the second chapter was me being an entrepreneur, setting up a business. And the third chapter is being, after exiting that business, setting up this family office, which basically is being set up around this key principle. Thank you.
Thank you. Dual?
Hi, Dual Glass family office, single family office. The family office, I guess I'm a legacy member of a 100+ year family office. My background and experience is in investment securities. Started a broker-dealer many years ago, and a heavy background in oil and gas, and if at some point I'll share that story with you, which is the story of the development of oil and gas in the United States. Thanks.
Tammy?
Hi, Tammy Kesselman, Next Gen Success, and I work with multi-generational family offices on the investment side on aligning financial results and impact outcomes, and a lot on impact due diligence and making sure their outcomes are what they claim to be. And then intergenerationally working on helping align wealth creation, impact stewardship, crafting enduring legacy, and whatever their passions are intergenerationally, and making sure there's an internal happiness. So working with people who are wealthy and not happy on what to shift to get it all.
Marcela?
Hi, my name is Marcela. I am a founder and chairman of Zanara Trust Company. I design legal and financial structure for global wealthy family. I'm also the third generation who is challenged this search. The third generation, it's when the wealthy start to be loose, because I am the one who is multiplying through my family, because we decide to institutionalize the legacy, and that's what I do for families and founders around the globe.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on kind of out of order, because I think that one of the most important questions we ask as family offices is, how do we transition to the next generation? That, hands down, is probably one of the best, and Hadi and I have talked about this extensively, and he has quite the plan in. So that's why I'm going to start with you, because I know the most about your family and how you're doing that. Can you talk about your sons and daughters?
Well, I am a third generation. My children, 6 of them, 3 girls and 3 boys, are fourth generation. And I have from them, all married, 15 grandchildren, 5th generation. And the best way to run the business with the succession plan is to put governors. So I created with $1 million from my father in 1990 when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. I'm one of 13 from one mother and father. He came to all his siblings and he said, I'll give you $1 million, but only way to get that million, if you put it in a business, you don't go to Vegas and put it in the table. So we all agree. And the second rule, you have to create between you all, the 13, non-competitive business. So if I am in construction, my brother could be in building material, and so on. We all agree and we got the money. At that time, the interest rate was 12 in 1990. So 2 auditors of my father, Ernst & Young and Deloitte, said, put the money in the bank and wait till we see what happened with Saddam. I was the odd among my 12. I said, no, I'll put it in a business. I want to show my father that I can do a business even in a hard time. Because if somebody like Anthony, he freak out and he want to sell the business, I can buy it at a good price. So advisor, so at that time, the advisor from these 2 auditors, okay, don't put all your money in one basket. 700,000 put it to buy off Anthony, and 300,000 you put it in gold. At that time, 1 kilogram of gold is $10,000. So I put them with the Swiss bank. Till this minute, they are with them. My client service manager said, Hadi, gold has gone up, sale, gold has come down, buy. I said, no, I don't want to know about the gold, keep them with you. Today is 110,000, I think, per kilogram. So I started that business. I look at my children and my wife, and I tailor business according to their interest. So my wife in real estate, my eldest daughter in fashion, middle daughter in interior design, younger daughter in technology, and a boy, a lawyer, a finance guy, and an engineer, architect. So I created iconic business to continue the legacy for succession plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to skip around a little bit. Good job. Marcela, tell us about Zanara and what it does.
Zanara is a company founded like 10 years ago in New York. We design legal and financial structure for global wealthy and founders 6 and 18 months after the exit, because it's research proven that 6 to 18 months after the exit, the founders start going down. They lost traction, and it's actually because the legacy is not institutionalized. They don't know where they will be in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years. What we do is we identify the identity of the founder inside the structures, and we design their legacy, and there's a whole protocol based on science from Harvard and Stanford. I have a certification in finance from Harvard and a master's degree in international transactions. So basically, we are always innovating to help founders and families in these transitions, because it's never easy when it comes to identity.
Tammy?
Yeah, building, I love that. I think that as talking about destruction or creation, it's also destruction or creation of the person themselves, right? And so I talk a lot, we'll talk after, but if you look at like Kate Spade, who got her exit, or Tony Hsieh, who had an exit as the CEO of Zappos for over $1 billion, and each of them got their dream and lost their way and spiraled to ultimately suicide. And so the difference, so that first generation, some of the issue is in the transition, right? And how you structure your documents and your governance. Some of it, for that first gen to second gen, is in the health and mindset and the what's next of the first gen once they get to whatever their first dream that was so far out of reach and they overexceed it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Like, we identify the uniqueness, and we put not just in a bunch of structure, as we are having like $14 trillion that will be transferred in the next 10 years, because there is billions and billions in structure that is obsolete, and its successor doesn't want to take over because they don't feel the meaning and the sense of belonging, because it's what not made by to the family, but just copying, and losing the uniqueness of the families.
Thank you, ladies. Lord Karma, would you like to talk to us about succession within the family?
Transition-wise?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think in transition from one generation to next generation is not just a legal document, all right? It's more mentorship. And in our case, because basically my father was a professional, and the investment that my parents did in us was the education. And so as far as the family office is concerned, I'm the first generation, but what I'm trying to do is involving our kids, the next generation, in any type of decision making, giving them responsibilities so that they are co-authors of writing the next chapter of our family. So I think it's very important to have the next generation not a custodian, but a creator. So they shouldn't be just inheriting things. They should learn to create and add more on it for the next generation after them.
I will tell you that I did my mission statement with the Etienne Chaz's Next Gens, and they're 14, 16, and 18, and we did it as a group without the parents because they already know how they're acting, right? This was for the girls. So
You learn from them as well. I mean, today and yesterday in many of the panels, people did mention that talk with the Gen Z, talk with the next generation. Really, yeah, that helps.
Yeah, for example, I'm the third generation of wealthy, but the first one who went to school. My parents doesn't have education. My grandparents doesn't have education. So what's hard for me to understand many concepts, especially what is legacy, what is wealthy, how I'm gonna make it. My parents are losing their mind because the second generation is their riches, right? And I say, well, I have to take over and do something for me and for the others. That's what I do now.
So, Lord Villani, can you talk about how they deal with, I know succession's a little different with your family. Can you talk to everybody about it a little bit?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, first of all, we all have a family. And I've daughters, wife, and ultimately our everyone, whatever we do for our family. And it's interesting because I used to say that, the grandfather makes it, the father preserves, and the grandchild destroys it. But it's true that it all depends. Today also is difficult because it doesn't matter if a family office usually is $500 million plus liquidity. Ultra net worth individual between 1 to 250 and very ultra between 250 and 500. But each one have their own needs. So when you mention is not just a custodian, it's really, you have today, in the next 20 years, you're going to have $150 trillion which change hands. Wives, children, grandchildren, peers, and so forth. And we've been partnering up, for example, with Rockefeller Global Family Office, which is the first Penn Fund family office 140 years ago, looking at how they've changed with the governance. And the sixth generation, they feel ashamed, and we were talking yesterday with Duo, that they made money in the oil and gas, even though they paid bills as a result of that. But of course, today is ESG. So you need to identify the identity of the third, fourth, or fifth generation. I was fortunate enough, because of an athlete, not because my brain cells are very too small, but I was fortunate enough to be CEO of the Berkshire Hathaway's home service with MFL private office, which is focused on interests, passions, and hobbies, because you do business with your friends, whether it's of sports, art, philanthropy, or other passions. Sorry. And I was when you deal with directly, you mentioned royal families and non-royal family. Governance is different, obviously, because it's not similar. However, even within that, each one has got its own garden, and it's got a very tall wall garden on how you preserve, how you grow for their own children. In the golf, women are very wealthy because women, as a friend Abby would say, your daughter receives half of what received the son. However, until her father is alive, he has to take care of her everything. Everything means not just money in the bank, vacation, Chanel, everything. When he passed away, her brother has to take care of her. And when she gets married, interesting enough, if she wants to, she can contribute to the family. So they accumulate wealth to the point that they don't buy Chanel purse, they buy Chanel company. And therefore, the asset management in that is very different. Now, going back on the pure aspect, we are focusing a lot into endowment policy. The endowment approach means you diversify in alternative, but you are illiquid. You're not just doing a trading of public companies or stock market because historically you've been flat. You create the alpha as a result of private equity, as a result of alternative or real estate, areas you feel most comfortable with. And within that space, you need to identify the areas in which you believe can be disruptive. Yesterday I discussed briefly about investing in AI, which I needed for my brain, to apply that into quantitative computing for material for companies. Another company that needs energy. One of the companies we've been looked at and invested into is a nuclear company called Terra Innovatum, which is focused on how to create the next 45 years. You're looking at a long-term horizon on the investments. You don't look at trading within 3 to 5 years. So on a 50 years horizon, what's going to be there for my grandchildren? And therefore, the investment profile is usually 100 years. And that's a way to you be able to preserve over generation to try to protect. And lastly, one of the families in Saudi Arabia, probably the most predominant family in Saudi, called Hamuhadib family, 200 plus companies, 15 years ago created the first governance, the first in the region. Okay, it's maybe the top 1%. The peers, the children, okay, very educated, they had to go work outside. In order to come back in, they need to be headhunted. They are not because you are the son of, because they have to be headhunted. Similarly, we've seen in some of the other families, even in Europe, like Benetton. You have family in which somebody goes out for 20 years, makes it on its own, whether it's in private equity, whether it's in infrastructure, whether it's in other, and then if it's qualified, can actually help me come back into the asset, into the management of the multifamily office or family office.
Thank you. And Dul, do you want to jump on that?
Absolutely. So when I think about succession, legacy, I think it starts with telling the family story. And what is the history? What is the rich history? Because money comes and goes. And being in the oil and gas industry, we see it come and we see it go. So there's always risk, there's always change. But what doesn't change is the rich family history and the struggles that each of our successive generations have gone through to get where we are today, and the gifts and the obligations of legacy and passing that on, I think are so instrumental to place in the minds of our children and our extended family. So family encompasses more than biological children. It's as big as we want it to be. And I think the most important attribute to pass on is resiliency. And of course, mindset and health are key components of that, and everything else will follow through. So I think the focus, our focus is less on investments and more on developing the person internally and the duties and responsibilities of being who we are as a people.
Okay, and that's fair, but we know the statistics. Only 10% are going to make it past the third generation. So what advice specifically can you give families in the audience to help jump that hurdle to that fourth, fifth, sixth generation? Legacy, yes, but what else? Hadi wants to jump on that one. Sorry, Jill.
Well, I believe in any business, family business, it should have 4 Two, you get rid of them, and two, you add them. Get off greed out, and also disrespect with each other. And add two-way communication, and the most important thing of these two, hand over some responsibility to the next generation. Because you see, some people stay as a chairman till he died. He doesn't pass it to his second generation. Then they will not learn, you know. And I learned something from my father. When we were working with him, when he see us make mistakes, he didn't tell us, you made a mistake. He wants us to correct it by ourselves. And he always say, respect with each other is the most important things. Now you're looking, and the second thing, you're looking at us here, all of you. Can you see what is behind you? You don't have eyes. And we also can see what is behind us. If you tell us what is behind, and we tell you what is behind, we have that two-way communication with respect. And he said, when you go out from your home, you want to see how you dress, your tie, everything. If you smile to that mirror will smile to you. If you kick, it will kick you. So imagine that's another human being in front of you. Treat him the way you want to be treated. And that's which keep legacy, it keeps succession plan. I know company for 100, 200, 300 years, still managed by 6, 7, 8 generation. We are partnered with a family in Oman. It's called the Towel Group. They are 8 generation. Still some of the first generation didn't die at the age of 100, 110. Respect, but they pass all the power to their grandchildren and grandchildren. And that's the way to go forward.
So one of the things that we have focused on, and I guess our family office is decentralized. I have 3 siblings, and one of the core things is educating our children and developing them and letting them have more and more responsibility so that they're able to make better and better decisions and grow financially to be stewards of what they have and to grow the wealth.
Ton?
Yes. Look, as family offices, we spend millions to protect ourselves from market risks. And I think the biggest threat to wealth is when you look at the mirror or at dinner table with family. So the human factor is the most important factor. As, I don't know if you know, but as Rumi said, yesterday I was clever, I want to change the world. Today I'm wise, I'm changing myself. So bet on human dynamics, know the human dynamics of your family, and then you will be able to preserve wealth through generations. That's my thought. Thanks.
Yeah, and with that, I just want to build on what Hadi was saying is open communication, bi-directional mentoring. Like we had Brock and many others talk about on AI and cyber and all. A lot of it is seeing what the next generation understands that you can't totally fathom. And it's that bi-directional open understanding that sometimes you might have known this forever and grown the company 10x or the family wealth 10x, but there might be something in the next generation that's actually going to get it to 20x versus be like the next Xerox or Kodak, right? Where the CEOs and the C-suite knew everything and didn't listen to people at Park and missed out. But I just wanted to end with also, so I work with a lot of my colleagues and friends are the ESG impact side of the Rockefeller family. And I think that what's great, there's a lot of shame of some parts of the family and former generations around where the wealth was made, in oil and gas. But what's awesome is changing your family understanding of like your pride in what your family did. J.D. Rockefeller was a huge conservationist. And back in the day, you made your money here and you gave it there. But he was part of what made parks happen. Huge conservationist. So a lot of the next gens that I work with, do you know why oil and gas was amazing? What were they doing before that? They were clubbing whales. J.D. Rockefeller was a huge conservationist. So when the family legacy, when reframed to what's appropriate now in truth, in 100% truth, is pride in the fact that he was a conservationist then, and then you got to this unfathomable, like more than they ever could have dreamed of level of use where there were unintended consequences. And now it's this next generation saying our roots are in conservation and what can we do to take this forward now that we see where that went. So some of it is in owning the narrative intergenerationally in a way that will serve the next generation with pride and with a complete honesty, but a reframe.
Marcella?
Yeah, I think find the right professionals who believe in the vision of the family is extremely important, especially today. We have a lot of AIs. People think you Google something or ChatGPT something, and you have the best structure for your life. The best is not like this. Things are made by humans. If you don't have the right people around you who believe in who you are and what you are building, you are just miserable.
And I know we're kind of running out of time. I see it flashing, Cal. I can see that. But can you all give one last piece of advice to the families out there to grow it and not let it be destroyed? Hadi?
Hand over to the next generation. Teach them how to rule. Respect them and become an advisor for them, and you will have a succession plan.
Lord Villani?
Well, I mean, I'll say, first of all, follow your passion and get educated with people smarter than you. For me, it's very easy because 99% of people are smarter than me. And learn. Try to learn. Devil's in the detail. And don't just fly at 60,000 feet. It's like I'm allocating, and see what happens. Dig into it. Because the alpha is when you invest. Just like if you're doing real estate, or if you build solar farms, and I know it cost me $300,000 instead of $1.5 million, then I'm able to create the alpha from the very beginning. It doesn't matter what sector you're in. And I believe also, don't look at the future projections, but look at the long-term sustainability of the business model of the direct investments you're making.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, real quick, it's just basically your mission as a family office, as Dual said, should be in line with your family's values and the story. Okay, I think that's number one. The second thing is the governance. I'm not just talking about the corporate governance, which is the rules of doing business, but family governance, which is the rules of the family. Once you have that, I think you can have the continuity of your strategies and families and wealth.
That's your governance, your mission
And
statement.
wealth not only being the numbers on a balance sheet and overall statement, by the way.
Right. Get
Thank
that
you.
family constitution done. Dual?
Exactly. I think it's important to allow them to make their own mistakes and learn from their own mistakes and start giving them authority to learn and grow on their own as soon as possible so that they're ready and capable.
Tammy?
And building on that, also, like very few of you have appropriate age children here that are 15 and up. Chaz and Etty have done it. They've brought them to other investment conferences. But bring your kids, once they hit their early teen years, allow them to see and give them some exposure in your own family office and also in events like this where they can start to understand and then listen to them and what's in their heart. Not everyone wants to take over. Some of them you want to structure trusts and have a family office of independent other people or of the siblings that do want to be part of it. But bring them in early. Don't keep it a surprise for someday.
Marcella?
Exactly. I was about to say, start early. My grandfather introduced me with 11 years old. I have one brother, one sister, and my parents choose me because they think, like, since early stage, I had a vision, and I was able to make it something in life. So my grandfather started introducing me in his business, like with 11 years old. They didn't know anything, so it was fun. I started playing, having fun.
But I have to just add to that, do not make it succession. You can't make it survival of the fittest. Do not make your children fight with each other to take over the reins.
We've seen that
That's
show.
more
No,
than
exactly.
anything else.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no Game of Thrones of it if you want healthy legacy to come after you.
Can I get a big round of applause for my panelists? They've just been great.